Be yourself, be positive. Just another mindset.
Hello, friends, and welcome to a new episode of the Just Another Mindset podcast, the show that inspires you to change and live a more exciting life. My name is Ishmael, and each week I bring to you a relevant conversation, message, or topic that will not only entertain you, but help you to change towards a more meaningful and satisfying life, individually and collectively. Let us get inspired and embrace collective changes for the better. Today, I had the great opportunity to talk to my great and dear friend Malte, and we talked about his upcoming adventure to cycle from Europe, namely the Netherlands, all the way to Asia, more precise to Bali. And we talk about what kind of preparations he has done, why now is the very best time to go cycling for 1 year, which is the time frame that he has planned to do so. And we also discuss what kind of mindset you need in order to tackle such an adventure and such a journey. And yeah, it's a conversation packed with a lot of information and exciting plans, I would say. Malte, what else did we talk about? Why should the people tune in today?
Well, whatever makes you happy, I think. Why it's sometimes good to make big life choices and change your life drastically, but also like the reasons behind why do we do what we do, and now what does it give us back, and yeah, obviously for this specific trip, like what are things that you need to do in order to succeed, and what are kind of things well, that you don't know what could happen. I think one of the most important thing is the mindset. The mindset set controls, I think, everything, and especially in this, you need to stay positive and to make it work.
And with that, I wish you a lot of fun and a lot of excitement listening to this podcast episode. Okay, perfect. So if you're as ready as you will ever be, let's go ahead, Malte, and start. And first of all, thank you and welcome to being a guest on the Just Another Mindset podcast. And for those who do not know, Malte and I are in fact good friends for a very, very long time. And we've lived together in Amsterdam. We've built chicken coops together, and we hosted chicken for 1.5 years. We've traveled Mexico for, I believe, good 2 months together, and we share a lot of fun activities. And Malte and I today will talk about his next big adventure, I want to call it. And before we look into all the details there and understand why he does what he does, Malte, how do you feel today?
I feel great. And I actually want to thank you for this invite. I'm really looking forward to it. But I'm feeling kind of pretty excited, slightly nervous, but overall pretty good.
Very good. It's a pleasure to host you. It's absolutely you likewise. I'm honored that you're here. And yeah, maybe let's just jump in and talk a little bit about what you have planned. For those who do not see us in the video right now, Malte has a big cycle placed behind himself. And this is also to give the little intro, Malte's plan to travel, to cycle from Europe to Asia. Malte, do you want to tell us a little bit about what your plan is, why you're doing what you're doing, and yeah, what is the time horizon for it as well?
Yes, let me just start from the beginning. It was about 6 months ago. When I saw this documentary of 2 guys cycling to China, I think, and that was a moment where I was like, fuck, that's exactly something I want to do. So I called a friend. I think the same day I called a friend and I asked him, hey, Olmo, I want to bike to Asia. Do you want to come? And first thing he says is like, yes, let's do it. And then I was a little bit shocked, like, did he really mean it? I don't know. Is it just like a crazy idea that's not going to happen? And then a week later, I saw him as he came visit to go to a festival. And I asked him, I told him again, like, it was not a joke, actually. I really am thinking about doing this. And he was like, yes, thanks. I was actually hoping you would say that. And since then, we both pretty decided. I mean, it was basically decided that it's actually going to happen. And from there on, it started a little bit. And the whole idea, or the basic idea, what we do is, we travel by bike. We try to travel the whole way from Holland to Indonesia. We both haven't been to Bali, and we thought that could be a cool end destination. Both of us actually quit their job, and starting in the countdown is pretty much 1 month, starting beginning of March. Obviously we have to bring everything on our bikes, so we go with tent, with air mattress, and I'm sitting on this tiny little chair that I'm actually going to bring, a little bit of luxury. This is, in a few words, that's basically what we aim to do in the next 12 months.
Super interesting. So you just said in the next 12 months. So you guys basically plan to cycle for roughly 1 year. And you also said that you want to start in the Netherlands. How come you want to start in the Netherlands? And do you have any idea? I mean, Indonesia is also big on how to get there, or how much planning is involved on this journey?
Okay, to start with your first question, I am German, but I grew up in Holland, and Olmo is actually from the Netherlands. And there was, let's just start from home. Pretty simple as that. And then we have actually one more country on our list. And now the second question, the preparation. Obviously, it's a lot of countries, and it's a lot of visa hassle. And that's already under normal circumstances, but now we are in the middle of a pandemic. There are a couple countries along the way which are in a politically not very safe situation. So right now it's actually super difficult to plan ahead. And what we set ourselves is that we have to stay flexible, because right now the tour we want to go, like the countries we want to visit, is actually right now not possible. So we just hope for the best, that during the summer, based on Corona, but also the political situations, at least in a couple of countries, get better, that we can actually make all the way on land. But it's very likely that we might have to fly over a country. For example, Turkmenistan right now is shut. China is actually shut. And we want to cross or like pass by Afghanistan via the north, via the Stan countries. And right now it's also political, but also corona-wise, impossible right now to get visas. But we're gonna leave, and we hope for the best for those countries to open up. And I called all the embassies, and I think it's very likely that the situation will change for the better.
Okay. So help me a little bit. You start in the Netherlands, then probably the first border you're going to cross is the one to Germany, I suppose. And which countries are you planning to cycle, or do you have certain milestones on the way that you would like to see for sure? How much actual planning and how much flexibility do you have? You mentioned a few countries, but which are the countries that you out of your head begin with cycling through?
Okay, yes, Europe is not going to be an issue. Like obviously crossing borders is since many years not a problem anymore. We want to go down south in Germany, cross the Alps in Switzerland, then hopefully have some mild weather in northern Italy, and from there basically go east, and then from Slovenia go down south the coast, Croatia, Montenegro, Albania, and then east again, land inwards towards Greek, and then Turkey. And I think from there basically Istanbul is the last stop before it's getting out of Europe. And I think the where I'm starting to be really excited for, like the starting to cycle outside of Europe. Obviously Turkey is a very big country with a very beautiful landscapes, but also people. And then it goes to Georgia, and I've never been to Georgia, but everything I hear from everybody is that it's an amazing place to visit. I think you have been, right, Ismail?
Absolutely. I can only
Yeah,
confirm
and
that it's a
then
super beautiful country. You're going to like it.
yeah, that's I might bring my walking shoes to go for some hikes. And then from there down south again to Azerbaijan and then to
Mm-hmm.
Iran. And Iran is also a country where I'm super excited to go to.
Mm-hmm.
From all the people that I know that have been there, tell me just incredible stories, and also the how you say it in Germany, the Gastfreundschaft. In
Yeah,
English,
the
it's
hospitality of the people.
hospitality of the people basically towards outside of Europe is just something extraordinary. How nice the people are, how welcoming they are. And then from Iran, it's basically the hardest border to cross is to Turkmenistan.
Mm-hmm.
As it is super closed for tourists. You can only get like a transit visa. You have to tell exactly what road you're gonna take. You have to make it. If you don't make it, you're in big trouble. And on a bike, it's always hard. Like you're not sure how good the roads are. You cannot have bike trouble. So that's going to be a little adventure. And then Uzbekistan is where the Pamir Highway starts. And basically what we're doing is the highway number 1, it's called, or also the Silk Road, which was back in the day the land connection between Asia and Europe. And like a lot of what we cycle will be probably the Silk Road. And there it's actually a part of it is the Pamir Highway. And there the really high mountains start. And I think there's one pass which is 4,600 meters that you have to cross by bike. So that's going to be incredibly exhausting, I guess, but incredible landscapes. And from there, it's going to be again a little bit tricky because Tajikistan is to the border of Afghanistan, and the Afghanistan border goes all the way to China. So we do want to go actually to India, and to get there, you either have to cross obviously Afghanistan, which is a no-go. Then you have to go through China, and China is currently closed. So that's right now definitely a tricky one. But I think after the Olympics, I guess China will change their tourist policies. And from India, we stay in the north of India, go eastern, come by Nepal. I definitely want to spend a couple of weeks, and from there again back to India and Bangladesh and Myanmar. I've been to Myanmar a couple of years ago in 2014, and it's an incredible country. It's when I was there, it just opened for tourism, and the people are so pure, and I didn't really know Western people, and they were it was just one of my greatest experiences, I think. Additionally to a place called Bagan, which is, I think, like a little piece of land that fills with 2,000 temples. And it's just, I've never seen something this beautiful that was built by humankind. But right now, the political situation there is terrible. The military took over, and nobody really knows what's going to happen. But after Myanmar, it's Thailand, and from there, I'm guessing it's going to be sweet sailing all the way down to the south. Then you cross to Malaysia. From Malaysia, or actually from Singapore, you take the ferry to Indonesia, and then you have to take 2 more ferries, and then you would be in Bali. And we're thinking about 1 year, but it could be a little bit shorter, but it also could be a little bit longer. That only God knows.
Super exciting, and it's a super interesting itinerary or travel plans as well. I was thinking about probably watched similar videos, you and I. 2 years ago, I watched a video from 2 guys, in fact, that were cycling from Shanghai to Tehran. that inspired me. So this is still something I would like to do one day. So maybe I combine their experience and your experience once you've done, and then I can merge that together and find out where is actually the best place to cycle. And it's super interesting if you talk about Central Asia, because as you are aware, like 2.5 years ago, I also traveled from Russia via Mongolia, and I want to go to China. China just closed. And I also, before planning this Trans-Siberian and South Korea and Japan trip, I planned, or I thought about going to Central Asia. So I'm well aware of Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and the difficulties you had already before a pandemic, I want to call it. In fact, two of my very good friends who have been there told me it's a no-go area in winter if you're by yourself. So you guys, I guess, have the weather on your side because it's not going to be minus 35 and you have cycles to move forward. But I think it's going to be super beautiful. As you said, I think the Silk Road is one of the most, inspiring journeys to cycle. And yeah, as you said, I mean, a pass of 4,500 meters, worst case, if you have your hiking shoes, right? And you can push your bike for a few meters. Now, I think this is super cool, and this is going to be super inspiring. If you talk about all those places and all those countries you're going to visit, is there certain, cities or areas that you especially look forward to? And would you enlighten us which those are?
Certainly. My aim is, I think, especially when you're a long time on the bike, is that you, I think, kind of avoid to be in the big cities.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we passed by Istanbul, which I'm really looking forward also to take a ham there. I've taken one and it was the best experience. Other cities, I think Kathmandu is something very interesting, I find. The big cities in India, I'm not sure. I think that could be a little bit too much. Especially if you come from the Stan countries where there's very few people living and you are for days or weeks almost by yourself, and to get like into the rush of rush hour, basically, it's going to be something. I'm not sure if that's something you enjoy a lot then. So it's not really that I'm chasing cities that I want to visit, but it's more the landscapes, and also rather the people on the villages. That's where in the past had the best experiences with locals and meeting people.
Absolutely, I fully agree. And yeah, this will be a contrast if you come from the Stan countries and then you come into a city like New Delhi, or if you even go down the coast a little bit and make it to Mumbai. This will be a change of scenery, but I think there is a lot of super exciting moments ahead for you and Olmo. Malte, could you tell us a little bit? I mean, you said you watched this video, but why is now the time to do this, and how long did you think about it? I mean, you've worked in the cycle industry, I want to call it, for some time, so I know you have a knack for cycles. We've cycled quite a bit together as well. But why is now the right time to do this trip?
I don't think it's ever the right time to do this trip, but it also means it's always the right time to do this trip. So for me, I've been working for Van Moof, a Dutch e-bike company, for almost 6 years now, and I was kind of ready for a little change in my life. And I didn't just want to slip into the next job. I kind of wanted to take a little break and also find out again from what's important, make some new experiences, and also go on another adventure. But I didn't like the idea of just going like backpacking. I've done this in the past, and to travel somewhere by plane is just something different. And biking, obviously working in the biking industry, had a lot to do with bikes, but also the last couple of years I've started to build my own bike and do more bike trips. And then I was like, how is cool is that if you travel the whole world by bike? And then it's going to be my 30th birthday in 1 month, and I don't have kids, so that basically makes it the perfect moment for me. So if not now, when would be? And I think the older you get, the chances get slimmer and slimmer to take 1 year off, because obviously you leave family and friends behind and everything. But for me, it does feel like the right moment. Like I'm ready. With my job, I was ready for something new. So for me right now, it feels like the right thing to do.
Perfect. And then you do. And this is one of the reasons why I admire you. And in fact, it reminded me a little bit. I don't know if you remember this afternoon or evening when we went to Belize, and there was a guy sitting at a bonfire, and there was like 20 people sitting around him, and he was talking, and we joined. And I believe his plan initially was to go from Prague to Milan. And he did, and he liked it so much that he turned around and traveled eastwards and cycled for 2.5 years. So I had this moment in my head when we first talked about your journey. And I think there's just so many cool experiences coming ahead. And yeah, super cool that you appreciate that this is the right time to do it. If you could tell us a little bit, how does your environment take this decision? Do they support you? Do they understand the decision to leave a safe and well-going job? What is your comments on that? Like, how do people perceive you and this trip?
Okay, let's start with my parents. So my mom was first like directly super excited. She was like, "Oh
Cool.
man, yeah, definitely go for it. It's gonna be like it can only be good memories that you're making there." And my dad reacted first a little bit. He didn't say anything. Like I told him, and then there was like a pause. I think it was on the phone. I was like, "Dad, you gotta be excited for me." And then he was like, "Yeah, I'm excited, but I was a little bit worried about you." And then it took him like 2 days, and he called me, and he was like, "No, man, it's actually a really cool thing." But just from a dad's perspective, I was just a little bit afraid. And yeah, my sister, she was also really excited, but she told me like, you can only go if you really have a proper insurance. I have a history that I went traveling without insurance, which luckily turned out okay, but I cannot recommend it. And from friends and also work, the reactions were actually pretty positive. Like obviously I had to quit, and I had to tell my boss what my plans are. And although they were quite sad for me to leave, they were really excited that I'm going for this adventure and that I'm following my dreams. And that felt pretty good. And it also counts for my friends. They all had basically the same reaction, like, "Wow, that's a crazy adventure and you should definitely go for it." But obviously, yeah, you're gonna miss each other a lot. I have a lot of friends here in Berlin, but also now, well, throughout Germany or Holland, which I'm not gonna see for a long time. So I'm also trying to convince some people to join me for a couple episodes. Let's say if you want to join through Turkey or through Iran. And yeah, I'm working on that one in the background to get some people to join.
Absolutely, absolutely. You may talk to one who is very eager and interested to join. So let's keep in touch and let's see where things evolve. Okay, so that's super cool. So not only your family, your friends, but also like your work took it really well. If you're really honest with yourself, is there any doubts or fears that you have? I mean, it's pursuing your dreams. So probably the very positive emotions overtake. But is there something that you sometimes already also think, okay, this could go wrong, or this is something I should be concerned of, without opening the side topic of Malte and insurances? But yeah, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, it's gonna be a 1 year trip on a bike, so there's definitely gonna be a lot of moments with trouble. It can be any kind of trouble, but I think I don't want to break a bone. That would be terrible. I don't want to get super sick, because that's not something comfortable, especially if you are not really in the Western world, don't speak the language, and you live in a tent. That's something I'm just hoping not to have. And then we're gonna be the two of us, me and Olmo, and it's gonna be a challenge, no matter if you're married or if you're super good friends, to be 1 year in the same tent. That's why we're also gonna bring like a little tarp that we can actually separate each other. But these are the three things I hope, if they are okay, if we all stay stay healthy, we don't break our bones, and our friendship lasts. And I think there's very little that can hold us back. Obviously, like rain, cold weather, bike trouble, also trouble at the borders and stuff. I think that can and will probably get it on our nerves. And I'm just hoping that was also the reason I didn't want to go alone, because if you have a terrible week or a terrible 2 weeks, you might as well like, what the fuck am I doing here? I'm just gonna go home. Fuck this. And I think that's if you're with two people that are determined, it's more likely that you will make it. These are my biggest concerns, actually.
And I think this is all the anticipated somewhat challenges. And then there's a lot of room for the unknown, what you and I cannot think about. But I believe your mindset is also flexible enough to deal with them at that point. Then maybe you want to tell us a little bit about Olmo and yourself. Like, how good do you know each other? How long do you know each other? And why is he the best person to do this travel with?
Yes, so Olmo and I go back to like 13 years old, so we know each other from school. And me, Olmo, and Leon, from day one, we became really, really good friends. And basically, like, we started surfing together, windsurfing, and we kept on skipping school to go surfing on the lake. And we spent basically all our holidays together, but also when we then like started university and stuff, we still remained to go on skiing holidays, on surfing holidays. We went with a van to Morocco. We bought motorbikes in Vietnam, bought motorbikes in Holland, drove them all the way to Slovenia. And why he's my perfect buddy, I think, is because every time we see each other, we have a lot of fun, and we don't really care about making fun of ourselves, and that's something I find a very good connection in that we have. That really the funny moments start when you don't care what people think. And I think every time I see Olmo, we do make some funny new experiences, and we laugh a lot. And I think that's, for me at least, the right kind of person I want to have, because what I find in life is important for me is to have fun and to laugh and to enjoy. And if you do that, all the other challenges will go with it.
Is that also one of the reasons that now is the perfect timing, that you say you want to have fun and you want to experience something new, so that you were at a certain point in life where you said, okay, my learning curve is kind of flattening and you need to do / want to do something for yourself before you get into a treadmill or whatever you want to call it, but only work?
My learning curve, I wouldn't say it stagnated at work, but still I did want to change something in my life.
Okay.
And I did admire a lot of people that made like big life choices, like life changes. And also I admired some people that just from one day to the other quit because they want to do something new. Because I think a lot of people are just stuck at what they do just because that's what they do. And I was like, okay, then I had this idea, like basically you can do everything, you know. If you think the weather is too cold, you can take a flight and you can move to Portugal or to Africa, and basically everything is possible. That does, however, it makes it difficult because everything is possible. But that was kind of the idea. And then the other thing is that obviously we both grew up, I mean, yeah, you a little bit less than I, but in Europe. And that's basically how we know it. Obviously we have a family and we are like raised by our parents, but then also obviously society has a big impact. And basically everybody thinks here in Europe that what we do here is the right way we do things, and that's something I kind of want to challenge, because I do think a lot of things we do in Western Europe is actually not very right. We are very individualistic people. I don't remember the last time somebody hosted anybody from the street. Can I say it like that? And that's just things that don't happen. Or people, you have the elderly homes, for example, and that's this very sad thing, I think, for old people to, like, when you grow old, that you just, yeah, you're just in an elderly house. And I think in other countries and continents, people have very different mindset towards life. Like, you care more about each other, they're more givers, just the way they interact with themselves. And that's something I wanted to find out more about. Is what we're doing here, is it actually the right way, what we're doing? And I wanted to kind of find out for myself what it is that I want to do, because obviously turning 30, you want to find out who you are. And that's also something I aim to in this trip, to find out more who I am and who I want to be. Because I don't want to just, I mean, work, buy a car, buy a house, and just because that's normal and everybody expect that. But is that the right thing to do? I don't think so.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's the right thing to challenge, at least if you have this urge to challenge the status quo and to go east and to understand, okay, do people have a different mindset? And A, to learn about this mindset, and then B, you can bring the positive aspects or those aspects that you actually value, bring them back if your journey takes you back to Europe, but I just assume at some point it will. So I really admire this decision. I think it's a super cool one. So you have my full support as well. Another question, I mean, you just talked a little bit how you basically mentally prepared for this journey and for this adventure. Can you tell us a little bit about, how you prepared for this journey mentally, physically, maybe financially? I don't know what comes to mind if I ask for preparation for this trip.
Yeah, certainly. Physically, you don't have to really be fit in order for a trip to start. You can basically get fit along the way.
Okay, good approach.
Take it easy. But I am actually preparing a little bit. I'm gonna test obviously my bike, and I'm try to start this journey as fit as I can be, because I don't want to be stuck after 2 weeks with like cramps in my legs and stuff like that. I think mental preparation goes hand in hand with like the actual preparation. Like, if you actually prepare for it, you will mentally feel that you can do it because you prepared. Mentally, I'm mostly very excited. And yeah, now it's really when I'm starting a little bit to get nervous, because obviously, like, my last day at my job has happened, and now I really have like my full time to prepare for this. And then obviously it's you have to be self-sufficient, which means you have to well, your bike has to be working. You need to know everything that you can possibly fix on your bike and how you can do that. You need to bring medical equipment in case something happens. I've had a full schedule with vaccinations of sicknesses that can happen along the way. It's informing your bank and checking that you actually can withdraw money everywhere. It also makes sense to bring some cash money, either euros or dollars, just in case. You have to have a travel insurance. For example, the cooking stove, I'm looking to buy one where you can basically put in everything. Because, for example, gas that you see in Europe, they don't have it really outside of Europe.
Okay.
And also the visas, which is now a little bit on hold because everything's a little bit tricky. But there's 1,000 little details. A Vollmacht, what's the English word? Power of attorney, in case something happens with your bank or something else. And yeah, just make sure to bring your copy of your passport. Make sure your passport obviously is valid long enough. Yeah. So it's a lot, actually, a lot of little details. You have to check now all the mails you get sent here, that somebody can actually check them if there's something important, and stuff like that. So it's a lot of preparation. That's all not super complicated, but it's just a lot that you cannot forget in order to make it safe, because there are already going to be a lot of adventures which you cannot prepare for, but for the things you can prepare for, you really should.
You have a nice little list of German and Dutch embassies along the way, which cities, worst case, you and Olmo can go if you need a new passport or if you need new visas, I suppose.
Yeah. We don't have the list yet, but we're gonna make just a safety list. But also, for example, a SIM card also in Europe, free roaming and everything is working, but then in Asia it's a little bit different. But there's just a ton of things that you first initially wouldn't think of, but luckily on the web there's a lot of people that have done trips like that, that have actually lists of what you can and should prepare.
And if we talk about preparations, I mean, we can see your bike behind you. How do you prepare for equipment? And is that also based on what you read online from other people who did similar travels? So question number one, what are you taking? And question number two, what are you basing those assumptions to take the stuff on?
It's a very good question. So first of all, we're gonna have probably weather like snow, but also 40 degrees in the sun or even warmer. So we're gonna have the full spectrum, which means you need to have very warm clothes, but also like the stuff you can wear when it's really hot. Then sleeping wise, obviously you need to be comfortable sleeping. Your sleep is going to be your safe place and where you're going to get your energy to cycle every day. So there's certain things you need to bring. Obviously a warm sleeping bag, an isolated air mattress, a proper tent. Then I'm going to bring the luxury of bringing a teeny tiny little chair, a little stove, but also you need water purification. If you don't have access to drinking water, then a base layer. The best is to bring merino, because otherwise you're going to smell terrible after just a couple of days. A down or synthetic jacket, and obviously a rain gear, and that's kind of what you have to bring, together with gloves, your cycling shoes, these overshoes that you put on top. I've probably forgot like a ton of things. Tools for your bike to repair it, which comes down like you shouldn't be carrying more than 15 kilos, because you still want to bring be able to bring a lot of food. If you're not gonna see a village for like 3 days, you need to bring the food, and the same goes for the water. So you're gonna bring like a water bladder of 10 liters that you can fill up, which means you have to have a little bit of buffer extra to stock up.
Okay. Exciting, and yet a lot of things to take. And probably, I mean, you said you're going to start with Europe. So probably along the way, once you reach Turkey, you will already leave behind 1/3 of the stuff because you don't need it. And probably you will have bought another third again because you didn't have it yet. So I think that's also super exciting. How long did it take you to put together your bike? I mean, you know a thing or two about cycles, but did you build it yourself kind of? How much money, roughly, rule of thumb, did you spend on this bike? And how much of an invest is it to have a bike that's ready to go to Bali?
I think you can do it basically with any bike.
Okay.
There are two approaches. You can either go for having like the best bike and just hope for it to not break down, or to have a bike, if it breaks down, that you can fix it everywhere. That I think the basic approaches. I bought my bike before I had this idea of traveling.
Okay.
But I did want to have like a so-called gravel bike, basically a road bike where you can put really thick tires. But I bought everything separately via, I think a lot I bought via eBay. So the frame I bought via eBay, and also the group set, and a lot of different parts. And the reason for that is because currently the cycle industry is impossible to get parts. At least back then it was, I think, even worse. And that was also nice because it does give yourself a good feeling to build your own bike. You're going to have a different relationship with your bike. And additionally, it helps you, of course, to understand how to put it together and to make it work. And then I made the decision to go on this trip, and then I checked, like, should I just bring my bike or not? And then Actually, I thought it's probably not the ideal bike. Maybe it's slightly too sporty, but I think it's gonna do the trick. At least that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I'm very confident it will. And if not, I mean, I'm supposing this is a steel frame, right? So it's not carbon. Maybe this would be pushing it a little bit because it can break. Um, but I think for the rest, you will just find out and see if you already need a new bike. And I'm crossing fingers you don't along the journey.
Exactly. Like the more people you talk to, the more different opinions you hear. And at some point, I just stopped. I was like, "Nah, I'm just gonna go for it." And then it's gonna come how it comes. But it's true, it's a steel frame, and they're pretty robust, and you can weld them if something happens. Yeah, at some point you have to make a decision and go for it.
I believe so, right? Probably you could spend another 2 years to prepare the perfect bike and to get 200 people's input on what could go wrong, what could not go wrong, what should you consider. And in the end, it's not going to help. So I think it's a good decision to just at some point say, okay, let's go. So you have 1 more month to have for your last preparations. Malte, I believe that a few of our listeners could say, okay, this is a huge step and a super big adventure. And to a certain extent it is. I mean, I'm not surprised you're doing it and I'm super happy that you actually do it. But could you think of smaller tips or hints that each and everybody could do in order to stay excited in life? So what can people do by not just going on a cycling trip for 1 year, but maybe in a small scale? Or is there stuff that you have done before in order to stay excited and in order to stay happy?
Yes, I think it all has to do kind of with the comfort zone. Excitement starts when you leave your comfort zone, and whatever that might be. It can be that you get really nervous if you have to speak in public, but also just to try to do things that you haven't done. Like not this winter, but last winter, I think, I don't know, somewhere I heard from Wim Hof, this crazy Dutchman that it's also called the Iceman, with like numerous records of that they all have to do with cold. I think he spent like almost 2 hours in like an ice bath, and then I started like, hey, that's cool. You don't need anything. There's cold water everywhere, and you just have to jump in. And that's kind of what I started doing. And yeah, also had a lot of friends that actually started joining me, and that was something that really got me out of my comfort zone. Because I mean, if it's snowing and there's ice, and you jump in the water and you stay there for up to 10-12 minutes, there was definitely an excitement. But I think also what is good is if you haven't already to get a bike or to borrow a bike, because on a bike it's very interesting, because you obviously you have to do everything by your own muscles, but um, you meet a lot of people. And if you just say, I think I did that, unfortunately you were not living in Hamburg back then, but I cycled from Berlin to Hamburg, which is not crazy, and it's like in the middle of Germany, but still I went on quite an adventure, because along the way I lost a shoe, I lost my toothbrush, and I had 2 flat tires, and it was in the end a little bit of a chaotic trip. But still, I during these 2 days I met a lot of people, and also got challenged myself a lot. There were already in this little moment, there were like a lot of situations where like, what the hell is going on? Why am I doing this? And but that's what what makes it interesting, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just one thought that comes to mind, Malte, after you reach Bali, we're going to have a conversation, and please keep track on how many toothbrushes you actually lost/used on the way from the Netherlands to Bali. I would be interested. Super exciting. You also told me about that you probably would like to involve or create some kind of charity for this cycle tour. Is that something that you already can and want to talk to?
Yes, I'm glad you asked, actually, because I did want to share some info on that. Yeah, so obviously this idea came that we just want to cycle, but obviously it's much better than just to do it for yourself, to raise awareness for something just better than two guys wanting to cycle the world. And obviously we are very fortunate that we can take that we're able to take this decision to quit your job, to buy a bike, and then to just bike, because the majority of the people in this world don't have they cannot just make this decision, because they have to feed their families, and a lot of people live in poverty. And I tend to forget that a lot of things that we do here and we take them for granted is definitely not something that's the same for everybody. And it's a good reminder, I think, that it's not. And so we were like, okay, but if we travel the world, um, let's give back to somewhere. And I always had a little problem with donating money to these organizations, because I knew a lot of people, a lot of money ends up in the wrong hands, and it's just a tiny fracture of where it goes to. So I was a little bit, I did want to know what's going to happen with it. And then a friend of mine, I think you met him too, is called Leon. He works in this organization that basically was started with this idea of, with this, like, that it's terrible that a lot of organizations, actually I think it's up to sometimes only 6% where the money ends up where it actually needs to be. And they said, like, yeah, this can't be, it doesn't make any sense at all. And what they do, they have a little pilot project in Uganda. And in Africa, they don't have landlines. So whenever the satellites came online for telephones, pretty quickly they started to pay with their phones. What's happening now is that they have a village of 400 people, and they want to make a basic income. So every individual in this village gets 15 euros, like an equivalent of 15 euros, sent directly from the Netherlands to the end user, basically. And they are free to do with it anything they want. So they can buy, I don't know, if they want to buy chickens, they can buy chickens. If they want to build I don't know, a little house, they can do that. And 10% of these 15 euros, they go in a communal pot, and there they can also do whatever they want. And what I really like about this approach is, first of all, 95 to 100% of the donated money actually ends up where it's needed. But I also don't like it that as Europeans, we fucked up a lot of shit in the world, and that we just go to some places and tell people what they need to do with our mindset that we think everything that we do is right. And that's something I, like we talked earlier, but I disagree. And probably people know better what they need. So why would you go somewhere and tell people what to do, or like bring products from another country where you then also interrupt or like fuck up the local economy? And I like this example they said, isn't it? Give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Give a man a fishing rod and he will feed a lifetime. But actually, if the man doesn't live near a river, he doesn't probably need a fishing rod. He probably needs something else, and people know that better themselves. And that's why I'm really excited for this project. And what we are going to do, we're going to raise money for this project. So we're starting a GoFundMe page, and we do different challenges. So with every certain milestone, we want to create challenges. For example, teach English for 2 weeks, plant 100 trees, work in an English school, and milestones like that. But we also want to make a single donation where we give something back, and that can be very creative. And the aim, exactly what we aim to accomplish, is to get this village for 1 year covered. It's an amount of 50,000 euros. So we set ourselves a goal to the 50,000 euros.
That's super inspiring. And yeah, it sounds like a wonderful concept that Leon and his company, I'm just going to call it, set up there. And it intertwines nicely with a lot of stuff or at least I have also read over the past years. And I mean, I've worked myself in NGOs, but it's exactly what you state, right? I mean, who is the European/Western person to decide what people need? Maybe if you give them some money, they know just as well or even much better what they need themselves, right? So if they need a fishing rod, perfectly fine. If they need seeds for corn, maybe even better. And if they need whatever else, they can decide themselves. So I'm crossing fingers, and I wish you all the best. I'm sure you guys gonna succeed. Where can people follow Olmo and you throughout this journey? Are you having any social media links that we can link to our speaker notes? And where do you keep people updated about the progress of the journey?
Yes, of course, we're gonna bring some film equipment and we're gonna make some content. And I just recently re-downloaded the Instagram app that I didn't have for a couple of years. And you can follow us on the Biking for Better, and it's also the equivalent of our YouTube channel. As we haven't started yet, content-wise, it's there's not much to be found yet, but this will be our social media that we make sure we post along the way, that you know where we are, what we go through, what our challenges are, and obviously also how our donations are going.
Okay. Super cool, super inspiring. Thank you for sharing that. And obviously we will share all the links in the speaker notes for that. And then I have 3 more questions, Malte, that I ask everybody on this podcast. And the first one is, what influenced or motivated you in the last 7 days?
In general?
Can be anything.
I think my excitement for this trip, there was definitely something that generally motivated me. Every day there was a meeting I had or something I had to prepare for this trip, and it's now the time is ticking, and I think every day when I went to bed and when I woke up, this was on my mind. So this was definitely something that motivated me, not just last week, but also the weeks before.
Who are your mentors and whom do you look up to?
If there would be one person I would love to have dinner with, I think it's Wim Hof.
Okay.
I think he's a fantastic person. And I've done a lot of his breathing techniques and like the cold showers. I take a cold shower every day. And what I like about him is, he's a very funny and honest man, and yet so simple. And I think for me, he definitely has been an inspiration, because also he has been working with the science world, because everybody thought he's just like a one of a kind of person that has some weird natural abilities that withstand him from cold, but actually he's just a normal guy like you and me, who is just very determined, and he actually influenced like a lot of people. And it's not just that he makes you take cold showers, but actually in a certain way also changes your life to just be a little bit more conscious about what you do. And but still, I like the way he's like, I'm not sure if it's true or not, but he doesn't take himself too seriously. And all this combination, still being a crazy Dutchman, is definitely somebody that inspired me over the last 2 or 3 years.
And I guess it's a good preparation also for a cycle tour like yours to be used to cold showers, because you're going to have a few of them for sure. Latest if we look into Nepal. So I think that's a good preparation. And yeah, certainly he's very inspiring. So thanks for sharing that. And my last question, Malte, it's kind of a scenario. I call it the 3 truths. So imagine that you are traveling in space all by yourself for a couple of years. And after those couple of years, you encounter a human-like species, but they can only process 3 facts or truths about humanity. And then they will decide whether or not they want to meet humans and get to know planet Earth. What is those 3 facts or truths about humanity?
Well, that's a difficult question. I always think, I'm not sure if it's a good thing if aliens meet humans, because it's always too much weapons and thinking that it's gonna be like a big war. Okay, so I have three truths about human people or humans that I would share. Tricky question. Yeah, I mean, I think you have to keep in mind, do you want them to visit Earth or not?
That's up to you, I guess.
Because if they, like one fact is we're destroying our own planet. We are very egoistic by nature. But we are a world where we laugh a lot, where we have incredible food, where there's actually also a lot of good things happen. But to narrow this down to three truths, Ismail, you have crazy questions.
I think basically you just did exactly that. So you said there's a lot of not so good stuff happening. There's a lot of egoism happening, but in the end, there's also a lot of happiness and excitement, and the nature of humanity is good, and that's what we should believe in.
Yeah, I guess maybe I did answer some questions.
Super nice, super interesting.
A tricky one.
It
you
is.
Ask this question to everybody in this podcast.
Yeah, that's my plan. That's what I'm doing so far.
Okay, yeah, cool question. I like it.
Very good, very good. Malte, any final words, anything we didn't touch ground on today you would like to share? What I would love to ask you is latest from Bali, to have a recap with you and talk about how the journey went. And maybe even throughout your journey, let's see if it's Iran or Turkmenistan or wherever that we meet. And maybe I will bring my microphone and a bike, and then we can cycle and record a little status update for each and every listener.
Yes, Ismail, you are of course one of the people I'm trying to convince to hop on along the way, because we're doing this podcast now with you sitting in Thailand and me sitting in Berlin. So next time I would hope it would be face to face. What else did I want to share? It's I think always think about what makes you happy, and here and there try to leave your comfort zone. And what I have, for me, is really important, that I want to laugh out loud at least once a day, and that's something that always that makes my day, let's say. For me, it's very important to laugh. And,
nice. And I think it is very important to laugh and to stay excited. And I think that's perfect final words. And thank you so much, Malte. And keep in touch. I mean, we will anyways be in touch, but all the best for the journey. All the best for the last month of preparations. And yeah, thank you.
Yes, thanks. It was a pleasure.
Definitely it really was. Pleasure. If you enjoy this podcast and learn from it, share this episode with a friend or two, and make sure to subscribe to the Just Another Mindset podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. On Apple, you may leave up to a 5-star review. Know that you will help to create more meaningful content if you do. If there is any future topic or guest that you would like to hear more about on the Just Another Mindset podcast, please let me know by leaving a comment on YouTube or sending a direct mail to contact@ismailwondergarten.com. And if nobody told you lately, be reminded that you are worthy, you matter, and you can achieve anything.
Do more of what makes you happy. Be yourself positive. Change. Just another mindset.